Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. May 7th, 2018.
Warning: The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
It's another manic Monday. Wish it was Sunday. That's my fun day. I don't have to run day.
Are you confident the president will not take the fifth in this case?
Oh, how can I ever be confident of that? When I'm facing a situation with the president and all the other lawyers are, in which every lawyer in America thinks he'd be a fool to testify, I've got a client who wants to testify. Please don't. He said it yesterday, and Jay and I said to ourselves, "My goodness, I hope we get a chance to tell him the risks that he's taking, so he may testify." And we may actually work things out with Bob Mueller, because working with him directly is good. But if they keep undermining it, and we have situations like Judge Ellis saying that they're...
Look, there's only one question today on the Savage Nation, which is, should the president take the fifth, and should Giuliani stop taking the fifths that he apparently is taking before every speech? That's all. I mean, I know that he says the president shouldn't, then he should. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Does anyone have any idea what Giuliani is talking about? Does anyone have any idea why President Trump has not dismissed this guy? Don't talk to me anymore about the squeegee man in New York in 1989. Please. I'm sick of it. Giuliani is way past his prime. I believe he's not helping the president. I think he's actually indicting the president. And I'm not so sure it's by accident, because remember what I'm saying to you, and I've said to you last week, and I rarely get anything wrong. Ever. I rarely ever get anything wrong on this show. Ever. Giuliani's loyalties lie with the Southern District of New York. If you watch the show Billions, you know what I'm talking about. The Southern District of New York. That's where his cronies are. What is he doing going on all these TV shows making it about himself? Not one lawyer I know of, not one lawyer I've read about thinks he's doing a good job. The major lawyers in America say the first rule is shut your mouth. You don't even let a client talk before a trial. How many times I've had lawyers say to me, listen to me, don't say anything. Now this guy goes up there and they say to him, do you think he paid off any other women? Stephanopoulos asks him in clip 3, did Cohen make other payments to other women? Listen to what the fifth, look, listen to what I just said to you. Should the president take the fifth? Should Giuliani stop taking the fifths that he apparently is taking before every speech? Let's listen to number 3.
You said this was a regular arrangement he had with Michael Cohen. So did Michael Cohen make payments to other women for the president?
I have no knowledge of that. But I would think if it was necessary, yes. He made payments for the president, or he conducted business with the president.
I never heard anything like that.
Which means he had legal fees, monies laid out, and expenditures, which I have on my bills to my clients.
He doesn't know what he's talking about. He just indicted the president, saying he probably made payments to other women for the same thing. Crazy. Welcome to the Savage Nation. It's another Manic Monday. The phone number is 855-407-282. Yes, Giuliani is stumbling. Donald Trump Friday said of his new personal lawyer, he'll get his facts straight, meaning he slapped him around. But my position is not he'll get his facts straight. The president and his agenda are in trouble. The business of the nation have been stopped by a rogue prosecutor who himself should be investigated. And yet there was Giuliani on ABC News' This Week with Stephanopoulos, and it was a disaster. The wrecking ball, Giuliani, gets off to a flying start when he was asked whether the president met adult film dirty dirtbag. I don't even want to mention her name. She's a filth. She's the lowest of female humanity. How could this nation be interested in what a dirtball like this thing says? And Giuliani says, I'm not really involved in the blank in the Daniels thing, so I don't know. So Stephanopoulos puts on the screen a photograph of the two of them together, at which point Giuliani tries to change the subject to Daniel's appearance on a comedy show. And it goes on from there. And he keeps double talking. I've never seen anything like this. He says that Comey is a Judas. Let me say this, Mr. Giuliani. I don't know you. You don't know me. I have nothing against you. I'm sure you're a nice guy. But you know what? A Judas couldn't do more harm to the president than you're doing right now. Get off the damn stage, Rudy. I know you're enjoying the spotlight, but like Andy Warhol said, you know what I mean, 15 minutes of fame? You had many 15 minutes of fame. You don't need another one. So these old guys, they just don't stop. And I am not the only one who sees this. Any major league lawyer knows he's making a mistake. It is a train wreck. So what am I going to ask you? If you think so, I think so. The main thing is I think so. And I don't know why the president holds on to him. Another topic is McCain. McCain comes out and says he doesn't want Trump at his funeral. Now, why would McCain use his death, his last breaths in essence, his last public breath to be spiteful? What does that say about John McCain? It says that John McCain has been a spiteful man all his life, and that to his grave he's going to take his spite with him. Which is why I'm sorry to tell you he was the worst in the line of great men in the McCain lineage. And I've said this before. His grandfather was a major league player, an admiral. His father was a major league admiral. McCain was last in his class at Annapolis. McCain accidentally hit the wrong button on his aircraft, on the aircraft carrier he was sitting on, and set off the Zuni missiles, which almost sank a ship. I know it's not politically viable to make any negative comments about a war guy and a hero, and he is a hero to me. Rather, I don't care whether he was captured or not, he's a hero. Anyone who could survive 5 years of torture by those Vietnamese devils is a hero to me. But that's not the point. To come out and say that he doesn't want President Trump at his funeral is, I think, the sign of malice along the lines of something I have never seen before. Anyway, it's a Monday. Many of you don't even care about this. The phone number is 855-407-282. As I thought about this over the weekend, what was going through my mind was, we have a presidency that has been shadow banned, to use a current phrase for Twitter and Facebook, a presidency that's been shadow banned by the Democrat Party from the day of the election. They're shadow banning his agenda, they're shadow banning his words, they're shadow banning his acts. In other words, they're telling half of America to drop dead. And frankly, I don't know about you, I have had enough of Mueller. I think Mueller is, as I have said, a rogue prosecutor. Mueller has nothing on the president. He's gone way beyond his original mandate, and there have to be boundaries in an investigation. Everybody knows there must be boundaries in an investigation. He has exceeded the boundaries, and I think he should be dismissed. Frankly, I think that Trump should fire Mueller, and the hell with the people in the media. I've said this before. I don't really care about the people in the media. Who elected these clowns, these left-wing clowns, to be the judge and jury of everything in this country? I didn't. They didn't run for office. Wolf Blitzer didn't run for the presidency. Jake Tapper didn't run for anything. These men can't even get out of their own way. They're nobodies. They're script readers written by men far more devious and more intelligent than they are. And so I think the president should get rid of Mueller. Just once and for all, end it. He is the boss, and I want Mueller gone. There's nothing there. Look, if there was any evidence that Russia colluded and he colluded with Russia, we would know it by now. It's enough already. You know how many lives this man has ruined? By the way, there's an amazing story that I posted on michaelsavage.com. Of course, I didn't write it, but it's written so well. It's been getting huge traffic. The Naked Truth About Robert Mueller. And it was written by Doug Ross. Representative Louis Gohmert. Monumental, The Naked Truth About Robert Mueller. It's getting the most hits on my website today. And he starts like this. Robert Mueller has a long and sordid history of illicitly targeting innocent people. His many actions are a stain upon the legacy of American jurisprudence. He lacks the judgment and credibility to lead the prosecution of anyone. I do not make these statements lightly. And if you read the article, you will find out how many lives this Mueller has ruined. There's a complete dossier that shows Mueller is not fair. Mueller is a destructive prosecutor of the worst kind. You ask anyone listening to this show, and I could call for people like that, even if you were in organized crime. And I suspect that several people who listen to this show are former members of crime families or current members of crime families. And I'll tell you why I say that, because when you have an audience of millions, you have to assume you have people from all walks of life, including criminals. Criminals may be criminals, but don't underestimate the intelligence of certain criminals. And many criminals have dealt with prosecutors like this, and they know that prosecutors are probably as dirty as criminals, if not worse. There is absolutely no chance of a fair trial with certain prosecutors. They will plant evidence, they will invent evidence, they will bribe witnesses, and I have had enough of this. The country's business is what I care about. Borders, language, and culture. I want the wall built. I want English as the only official language of this nation. I am sick and tired of this nation becoming a polyglot Tower of Babel. And I want a culture to be respected all over again. And there is a real culture here. Never mind the polyglot garbage that's being imported from all over the world. I love when they come here from their destitute hellholes, and the first thing they do is spit on a flag and spit in our culture. No, that's not the way any country works. And by the way, if you look at Mexico's southern border, they have one of the most stringent border controls you've ever seen in the world. It's on the southern border of Mexico. Because they know that they cannot afford to have every Guatemalan and other Central American or Middle Easterner come into that nation. They can't afford it. So they protect their borders. And we must protect our borders. And so we go back to the first question of the day, and I'll let the audience call. I would like to add to it by saying, have you ever been screwed by a federal prosecutor? Don't call me with a little case. I want to hear a big case. You can put a handkerchief over your phone, whatever you have to do. But what I'm saying to you is give us examples of what federal prosecutors have done that were blatantly illegal. So, again, the question, is Giuliani helping or hurting the president? Should the president take the fifth? And should Giuliani stop taking the fifths before every appearance? This is the
Join the Savage Nation. Call now. 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
It's a little too early for this music, but it makes me feel good on this Monday. And we're all sitting here wondering, how can the president maintain Giuliani as his spokesman, in essence, when this Fugazi is making one mistake after another? If I had a lawyer and so much was at stake, and my lawyer was grandstanding me and every other day was on a TV show, I would dump that lawyer, because he wouldn't be a good lawyer. He'd be a fool. Every lawyer knows that you dummy up, you shut your mouth, because everything you say can and will be used against you. It's the first rule of law, and I'm not a lawyer. I mean, don't you know that? You learn that in elementary school, for God's sakes. Everything that you say publicly can and will be used against you, especially with such a high-stakes game. So I'm saying, should the president take the fifth? Because his lawyers are obviously taking many fifths. Before every speech, it looks like he's taking a fifth, getting up there slurring and shooting his mouth off. All right, let's take a caller or two, Savage Nation. Olivia, WFNC Radio, line 9. Go ahead, please. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to say how extremely racist and discriminatory it is to say we need to close off our borders, and especially to target those people in Middle East. All
right. Okay, you're a snowflake. So can you name one country that does not have borders?
The name calling, that is so...
I asked you a question. Can you name a country that does not have borders?
The problem is we are trying to become a white nationalist country under a white supremacist...
Lady, do you know what you're even talking about? Can you name one nation that does not have borders? I asked you a simple question.
No, that's not the point. I understand we have borders. That's fine. But it's about allowing people to come in, especially also from the Middle East and other countries that are suffering from...
Why would you want everyone to come in? To do what? What are they coming here for?
Well, I work with the International Rescue Committee, where we work with refugees.
And what percentage of refugees are productive citizens 5 years after being here?
And that's the point. that is part of the misinformation about it. And
So far, you haven't made a statement. You're giving me one statement after another. Hold it. You call me a racist. Now you say there's misinformation. So tell me, what percentage of refugees are self-sufficient after 5 years?
They are. Many of them are. And
I didn't ask you many of them. You're an expert. Give me the percentage.
Whoa, I didn't say I'm an expert.
What percent of our prison population are illegal aliens? Give me that answer, because that's a simple one. What percent of prisoners are illegal aliens?
Shouldn't be illegal aliens in the first place. We should be making this.
Don't tell me any more rhetoric. If you can't state facts, then there's no point in this discussion. What percent of illegal aliens are prisoners in prison for multiple felonies?
Speaking and trying man.
27%, lady, of our prisoners are illegal aliens who have come here and gotten caught committing felonies. That's almost a third of them. So don't tell me they're all productive citizens, miss.
2, our problem is the fact that we're making immigration so hard and that we're closing off and not helping people who are in need. Are we completely neglecting the fact that America was founded by immigrants? And
stop giving me the first grade answer, because I'll give you the answer to your dumb answer. When America was founded by immigrants, was this a welfare state as it is now?
That doesn't. Why would you?
Not everybody came here to live off the system like a leech. There were no food stamps. There was no welfare. There was no this. There was no that. They came here to work and they broke their backs working like my grandfather did and died at 47 from working so hard. No, we weren't the welfare state at that time.
An immigrant who was considered a WAP until after post-World War II.
You know, you keep jumping from one statement to the other as a typical ignoramus, that when you can't win a point, you change the argument to another point. You're not in a school right now. You're not talking to your friends in the United Nations. You're talking to the national audience on the Savage Nation, and we are logical. And you're not making a logical statement. Not one of your statements makes sense.
I've been trying to make logical statements. You keep talking.
No, you started by saying it's racist to demand borders. That was one of the stupidest things I've ever heard.
Racist to say that. I'm saying it's racist to target saying what you said in your comments, saying, well, they can't have people coming from the Middle East and Latin America, Guatemala and stuff.
No, you can't have more people coming from the Middle East at a time of terror, can you? Without vetting them?
We need to.
What do you want, more people coming in from Syria, some of whom could be bombers?
These are.
You live in a dream world. Unfortunately, your dreams are a dangerous nightmare for most people who have a rational mind.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Okay.
You still want Rod Rosenstein to shut down this investigation?
I do. I believe that after Judge Ellis's remarks last night, yesterday rather, on Friday, there's no question that the amount of government misconduct is accumulating. I happen to believe it's greater than anybody realizes. Very embarrassing to my former Justice Department, and very embarrassing not to FBI agents. Please, nobody's attacking FBI agents, the Justice Department lawyers. We're attacking the formal leadership of both organizations.
Okay, what is he gaining by this? Does anyone listening to the show tell me what Giuliani is gaining by all these appearances? He went on the Wallbanger show last week and set off a shockwave by trying to throw Jared Kushner under the bus by saying men are disposable. That was number one. Then he made statements that was so indicting that no one could believe he was not fired the next day. Then Trump takes him to the woodshed on Friday and says he's still learning the case. But that's not enough for him. He goes on shows all weekend long, and it's about him again. Here's another story. Putin sworn in for another 6 years as president. I wonder if they're going to investigate if there was any collusion with Trump to get him sworn in for another 6 years in Russia. We'll have to see how long that would last. If there could be a collusion investigation in Russia. I kind of doubt that one. You know, in all seriousness, what we're fighting for is the survival of America. I read an article from USA Today yesterday. Trump's judges are flexing their muscles from civil rights to campaign spending. Because President Trump has put in some really great conservative federal judges across the nation. And they're having a great impact on issues ranging from civil rights, campaign spending, public prayer, and the death penalty. And I can read them to you. They're really good names. Judge Amul Thapar of the Sixth Circuit. Judge Judge James Ho, Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. Three judges named by Trump to the Eighth Circuit, Ralph Erickson, Stephen Graz, and David Strass, are doing good things. They're always ruling in favor of police, in favor of prison guards, in favor of a male student seeking the right to face his accuser in a sexual assault case. How's that for basic American jurisprudence? As well as against a naturalized citizen fighting his loss of citizenship. And all of their results please me as a conservative. But the liberals are very upset because Trump's judges are righting a ship that was listing to the left. So we have a wonderful situation now that is being fought tooth and claw by the left in the most devious manner. They're not fighting us on our ideas. They're fighting us in a dirty, underhanded battle. They're kicking us in the you-know-whats. And it's time to end it. As I said, if there was any sign of Russia collusion, we would have known it by now, and I would be the first to say I want the rule of law followed. But when I see a rogue prosecutor not following the rule of law, but following every dirty trick in the book, it's time, it's enough already to end this thing. But I want to go to the Giuliani issue because I think Trump needs to hear loud and clear from the Savage Nation what you think. I think Giuliani is absolutely not only not doing him a favor, he's undermining him. And I have callers now about Giuliani's behavior in New York. Yeah. Now, I'll never forget this. Giuliani runs a security firm to this day, if I'm not mistaken. He has his own business, security business. So who is he in this for? Is he looking for new business for his firm at the expense of his current client? WABC New York, the heart of the beast, line 6, Joe. Go ahead. Tell us what you know about Mr. G.
Yes, it's a pleasure. Joe from New York City. I'm a lawyer 34 years. What people don't know is that Giuliani has to go. First of all, if we Google Perlmutter, he was a U.S. attorney that worked under Giuliani in 1984. Unfortunately, he took drugs out of the evidence bags. He had a drug problem. So he was sentenced to 3 years in jail, but Giuliani wanted him to go to jail for 13 years. Now, that was one of his own men. He wanted to kill his own man, giving him more than the minimum, which was 10 years. I mean, this is a man that takes on causes. He's no better than Mueller. What he did was, we all know about the prosecution of the judge in New York State Supreme Court, where he had the daughter testify against the mother, and just threw a judge off the bench that happened to know very well. He just ruins people. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's got to go.
Have you watched the show Billions on Showtime?
I'm too busy as a lawyer. I'm not TV. But I know.
Okay. Okay. So it's about the Southern District of New York with a very aggressive prosecutor going after a hedge fund operator. And what the show tries to portray is that the hedge fund operator, who is breaking the law, is not more of a criminal than the prosecutor from the Southern District of New York, who also plants evidence and does other things that are illegal in order to nail the hedge fund operator. Would you concur that some of these prosecutors are as dirty as the people they're trying to nail?
I have a case right now in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Southern District in which it's a very, very high-profile matter that's extremely sensitive, and my client may end up getting killed as a result of all of this. They don't care about people's lives. They only care about this. They only care about what they need to put that notch up so they can go out into private practice and make $1 million a year.
All right, so in a nutshell, first of all, I think Giuliani's looking like a stumble-bum drunk on television. That's number one. He's not that good a lawyer. Why is he talking so much? Isn't that the first rule of law, is dummy up?
Exactly, unless you're trying to promote your own agenda. He's no different than Mueller.
So what is the agenda that Giuliani is pushing in your estimation?
He's pushing Giuliani's agenda. What do you think?
You mean he's trying to build up his own rep and his own business?
Well, I don't know. He's putting himself first. He always had. He always will. And he'll destroy anybody they have to himself.
So Trump's very, very canny. He knows him for a long time. They go back a long way. Why is Trump sticking with him?
Well, because you know what happens in the baseball team when you go through the first 5 or 6 pitches. You got to look at the 7th one and you pray for the best.
What do you mean? He's afraid of firing because now he knows too much?
No, I mean, he already went through all the guys that he had. He went through a whole slew of guys. He's way down the food chain. Let's just see what he's got here. This guy ain't got.
So, in other words, Giuliani's not even the A-team anymore, is what you're saying as well.
He was one of the first. The best. He was one of the big supporters. He got passed on a lot of different positions. And
right, Trump did not make him AG, and I think he was miffed at that.
Exactly, but way down on the food chain for lawyers, and I mean really way down on the food chain.
Well, if you were advising the president now, what would you do? Would you keep Giuliani and just muzzle him a little, or what?
Well, I'd fire Giuliani, and I would tell Trump, you can't say a word. I'm sorry, I'm not even letting you out of the room.
All right, good luck with your clients. I mean, this is a great call. I don't know if you heard what the man said. He's an attorney with 34 years in practice. He does high-profile cases. He knows Giuliani's tactics. And it's apparent to me that not only is the man somewhat malicious, but he seems to be slurring. He seems to be making mistakes. I don't know of any lawyer who would get up on one television show after another and enjoy it so much. As a woman I know whose judgment I respect very much, who voted for Trump, said to me, he seems like a kid at a prom who's getting attention that he never had in a very long time, and he can't stop wanting the spotlight to be on him without regard to the client. This is not good for America. It's not good for our survival as a nation. And it's certainly not good for the president. I don't care whether you like Trump or not. He's the president. You know, it goes back to something that I'm going to make a little personal. I had the honor of being in the White House. It's only 2 weeks ago. It was the greatest honor of my life today. Well, I'm saying outside of the family stuff. To sit at that desk from the ship that I talked about, the wooden desk rescued from an ancient warship, a British warship, to spend 30 minutes with the president talking about a lot of subjects, and then to be ushered into the vice president's office and spend 30 minutes with a man who knows history and talk about the portraits on the walls and things like that, and have the vice president ask me to read the first line of my book, God, Faith, and Reason, and then say to me, underline those lines, will you please, Dr. Savage, and put your initials next to them. I know what the vice president was going to do with the book. And what I'm saying to you is, these are very serious men. They're not there by accident. And Pence is a very God-fearing man. He is hated by a certain segment of the population who is smearing him, making things up about him, saying that he'll put gays in concentration camps, things like that. Well, the very same hysteria and the very same lies are coming out of the media about Donald Trump. How can they make a man like Donald Trump into someone worse than Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin put together? But many liberals are so incensed and so insane because their agenda got thwarted that they're literally insane with regard to Donald Trump. And we're at, I think, a very critical point. If he can survive Mueller, and if this nation can survive Mueller, and the president can get his agenda back on track, because, by the way, it's not even off track. I mean, really steamroll it is what I'm talking about. Put it on a faster track is what I'm trying to get at. Right now, it's a local. I need to get it onto an express track. We could save this nation. We could be proud of our country all over again. We could have secure borders. English will be spoken in the workplace. You will only be able to vote in the English language. No ballots in 6 or 7 languages. That's it. If you can't read our language, then you have no right to vote in this country. That's common sense. And then culture. What do I mean by culture? What is this culture that these people are so afraid of, these left-wing people? What's the culture they're afraid of? Are they afraid of our Bill of Rights? Are they afraid of the U.S. Constitution? Are they afraid of the history of the nation? Everything they say is negative about this country, yet they stay here and they come here. If this country's so bad, why is the whole world trying to get in here? Why does everyone on earth want to come to this nation? It's because it's a great nation. And we need to protect the presidency, not the president. Let me be very clear on that. What is being done to Donald Trump right now with a rogue prosecutor can be done to the next president, should that president be a Democrat. The very same tactics could be used against the next president, which again will cripple the nation for months and perhaps years. I think it's time for Trump to fire Mueller, and I think it's time for Trump to get someone new as his lawyer. I think Giuliani should go back to what he does best, which is knocking down a couple of glasses of wine over lunch with talk show hosts. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Now
More of the Savage Nation on Talk Radio 560
I gotta ask you, before we go
KSFO.
back to the show itself. Is nothing sacred? Do you know that more than 1 million children were victims of identity fraud in 2017? Think about that. 1 million children. According to a new report, and the most common perpetrator was a family friend with limited to no financial history. Children are the most likely to become victims of new account fraud, and they won't realize it until years later when they apply for a credit card or loan. Pay attention. There are so many threats in today's connected world, and it just takes one weak link for criminals to get in there. Good thing new LifeLock identity theft protection adds the power of Norton Security, which I have, to help protect you against threats to your identity and your devices that you can't easily see or fix on your own. If you have a problem, they have agents who'll work to fix it. No one can stop every cyber threat, prevent all identity theft, or monitor transactions at all businesses. But new LifeLock with Norton Security is able to uncover threats you might otherwise miss. Go to LifeLock.com or call 1-800-LifeLock. Use my code SAVAGE. You get an additional 10% off. You can get this from a lot of hosts, but mine is the best because I get the 10% off for you directly. Go to LifeLock.com or call 1-800-LifeLock. If you like the show, go to 1-800-LifeLock, promo code SAVAGE for an additional 10% off. I have a real treat for you coming up, since Giuliani has now made himself the center of everything. Which, see, by dint of the fact that we're talking about him means he's made a mistake. We should never be talking about the lawyer. We should be talking about the client, not the lawyer. So Giuliani has always been known as a grandstander. I'm going to dip into a book written in 2006, which I will not quote, but I'll tell you what it says about Giuliani. It's a book of caricatures, and in this book, the author created animals for each of the characters who were written about. Giuliani has a Latin binomial named New Yorkus pseudo-conservatus, and he was given a common name of the Gotham Gazelle. And the author said the Gotham Gazelle moves effortlessly across the plains of Central Park and uses his speed and agility to elude all political predators. Best suited to terrains east of the Hudson, the Gotham Gazelle has been spotted in recent months as far away as New Hampshire or even Iowa. Its unruly mane cut back to fighting trim. An animal known to have an ill temper and a propensity to not run with its own pack, the Gotham Gazelle feeds on headlines and generous self-promotion. The Gotham Gazelle has a political philosophy that was half Rockefeller and half Dirty Harry. And the write-up on Giuliani in this book begins with this. Sometimes a man defines a moment. At other times, a moment will define the man. But few would deny that both were true for Rudy Giuliani on 9/11. Ever since that great and terrible day when extraordinary heroism became an ordinary and in many cases a still unsung virtue, the Gotham Gazelle gracefully and forcefully embodied the spirit of resolve of the American people to stand up to the predatory pack of Islamofascists. Just think for a moment about what this gazelle had to face when he got up that fateful morning. He had a professional reputation as an unyielding hothead, a personal resume that bordered on the scandalous, more political enemies than Kim Jong-il, and a political philosophy that was half Rockefeller, half Dirty Harry. And the book goes on. The mayoral primary that day was to be a sign of the end of his reign over New York City. He had no real political prospects in the future, having squandered his golden opportunity against Hillary in 2000. All the while, the disintegration of his second marriage and the details of his affair with another woman were being chronicled on the gossip pages of New York's dailies, which had forced him out of Gracie Mansion, now the home of his wife and children. Giuliani was forced to sleep in the spare bedroom in a friend's place. Not the natural habitat for a gazelle. His stock was in an Enron-like dive on the morning of 9/11. But by the end of that day, his sins had been forgiven by the people of New York City and all of America for that matter. And his image as a public figure had been completely recast with the entire world watching. For all his many faults, the one thing he gave his city and the country that day was leadership. And it had absolutely nothing to do with politics. He was a gazelle on a mission who sprinted to the head of the fold. With the rest of our country's politicians scrambling for cover, his was the only image that America saw that day. What we saw was gravity and determination, realism and optimism, and America needed it. Think for a minute about who could have been the face of New York on 9/11. It could have been Hillary standing there with that blank look on her face, framed by that stupid little Yankees hat, competing for camera time with her chubby hubby. It could have been Chuck Schumer, who, when not trying to hide under a rock, would have been fighting Hillary for place in the lens. I don't care if that tower is collapsing. Get that camera over here. Or it could have been Charlie Rangel or Al Sharpton, there to tell us how America was being punished for its racism and support of Israel, all the while demanding contracts for the diversity training needed to mend those rifts. Or even worse, it could have been Hudson Hippo, Jerry Nadler, the Democratic congressman for Lower Manhattan, whose appearance would have only given the terrorists further encouragement to strike again. I'll continue when I come back with my review of Rudy Giuliani on 9/11 and where the Gotham Gazelle is today and how he is not helping the president at all.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.